Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Front and Center, a program that focuses on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concerns the welfare and well-being for every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. Join me in this half-hour program here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You can watch this program over Radyo Pilipinas World Service via Facebook page. That's Radyo Pilipinas World Service. And you can also watch every Front and Center program on our YouTube channel. That's Radyo Pilipinas World Service. The program Front and Center and the programs of Radyo Pilipinas World Service can also be listened on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.010 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. Join us for another edition of Front and Center. I'm your host, Jerome Toledo. Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Ben-Hur Abalos Jr. led the inspection of seized illegal drugs in Alitagtag Town in Batangas Province. According to the latest inventory report by the Philippine National Police, more than 1 ton of shabu amounting to more than 9 billion Philippine pesos has been intercepted. It can be recalled that President Marcos Jr. said, quoting the initial assessment from the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, the volume of shabu that was intercepted was at 2 tons of shabu amounting to 13.3 billion pesos. Nevertheless, the confiscated illegal drugs are considered as one of the biggest drug haul in Philippine history. President Marcos said the arresting agents were able to capture one of the suspects driving a van in a road checkpoint in the said municipality without resorting to violence. President Marcos Jr. highlighted that the operation exemplifies the government's effective approach to combating drug abuse in the country. On the other hand, the Department of Interior and Local Government recommended the spot promotion of Alitagtag Municipal Police Station Chief Police Captain Luis De Luna Jr. to 1 rank higher following the success of the illegal drug operation. Following the inspection, the chief executive answered questions from the media where he reiterated that the success of the drug bust operation should not lead to a change in the government's strategy. He further emphasized the importance of continuing operations and gathering intelligence to effectively combat the drug war. Here's what transpired in the said media briefing after the inspection of the billions of pesos worth of intercepted illegal drugs.
Nandito nga tayo dahil andito tayong lahat dahil merong para makita at mapakinggan at makakuha ng report tungkol sa itong nangyari na pagkahuli nitong kalaki-laki na shabu na shipment. Ang estimate baka umabot ito ng 1.8 tons. So ang ibig sabihin, ito na yung pinakamalaking huli na nagawa natin. But hindi lang ito. Meron na tayo as of today, ang huli natin is already 13.2, 13.3 tons. So patuloy talaga, marami talaga tayong nahuhuli. At this is the approach that we are taking to the drug war. Ang ating ginagawa, we take apart, binabaklas natin yung mga sindikato, kahit sino man. Ang nakita natin may kasabwat dito sa drug trade. Kahit sino man, kahit politiko ba na powerful politician o police o kung sino man, talagang iniimbestigahan natin. Kaya nagkaroon ng ganitong klaseng mga operation that nakahuli tayo ng kalaki-laki na 1.8 tons. Sa ngayon, just to give you a status report, as you can see, ang ginagawa ngayon, ini-inventaryo talaga kung gaano kadami itong nahuli na meth. Nakapag-test na ang PNP, tinest na yung nahuling shabu, very high quality itong nandito, very high potency. Ibig sabihin, yung mga pinanggalingan, kung saan pa yung mga, kung saan nanggaling, kung saan sinakay, anong origin, ngayon ay iniimbestigahan pa lang. Kaya the operation is ongoing at pabayaan muna natin ang ating mga kapulisan together with the attached agencies ng PDEA, and the Dangerous Drugs Board, lahat we're working together para mabuo ang kaso rito, malaman talaga natin kung saan dinaan itong shipment ng shabu na ito. I would like also to point out that this is the biggest shipment of shabu na nahuli natin. But not one person died. Walang namatay, walang nagputukan, walang nasaktan. Basta't inoperate natin ng dahan-dahan, yun naman dapat ang approach. Para sa akin, yun dapat ang approach sa drug war. Na ang pinaka-importante is matigil natin ang pag-ship ng mga drugs dito sa pagpasok sa Pilipinas. Pero the one thing that's clear, pinasok ito, hindi ito galing dito sa Pilipinas. Hindi ito linuto dito sa Pilipinas, galing ito sa labas. Ngayon, yung ruta kung saan nanggaling yun, ngayon pinag-aaralan pa natin at inimbestigahan pa. Alright? Okay. Any questions?
Mr. President,
Hello.
good afternoon.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Sir, ano po yung instruction nyo sa ating mga law enforcement agencies like PNP and PDEA? Kasi with this apprehension, tila hindi natatakot ang mga drug syndicate na i-transport ang mga illegal drugs kahit may mga checkpoint. Babala nyo na lang din po sa mga drug syndicate na hindi tumitigil sa kanilang illegal drug activity sa bansa. Thank you.
Well, kailangan rin maintindihan, ang mga drug syndicate, pagka nahulihan, parang cost of doing business nila yan eh. Nakakasama na sa kalkulasyon nila. Once in a while, mahuhuli tayo. Pero malaki pa rin ang kita. So, tuloy-tuloy lang. We cannot, there is no, tinatawag na one single answer tungkol dito. There's no silver bullet to this. Kailangan talaga kayod. We have to operate. We have to gather intelligence. We have to coordinate with Interpol. We have to coordinate with intelligence and drug agencies of other countries around, of ASEAN, of Asia, kung saan man nanggagaling. Because this is an international crime. So we have to keep, there is no other solution but to keep doing this. Na kung pasok sila ng pasok hanggang it is not para magawa, napakahirap magpasok ng drugs sa Pilipinas, wag na natin gawin, dadali natin sa ibang lugar. That is a situation that we are hoping to achieve. Pero the only way to get that is to continue to prosecute the drug war, but well within the law, so that the cases can be filed, then the syndicates can be identified, the guilty parties can be arrested and eventually imprisoned. And that is the point of this what we are doing. That's the only way to approach it. Pahirapan talaga yan. Tignan ninyo, tayo nasa Pilipinas, tignan ninyo ang problema. Sabihin na lang natin, kasi wala tayong resources, wala tayong funding na masyado. Tignan ninyo kahit yung mga mayayaman na bansa sa Amerika, sa Europe, gaano ka trilyon na dolyar ang kanilang ginagastos na meron pa ring drug problem. Kaya tayo, ganun din, wala tayong mga ibang pwedeng gawin kung hindi, sige lang ng sige, just keep going. Ang kapulisan naman natin is nasanay na rin sila at alam na rin nila kung paano ang sistema kuminsan. Kaya ino-operate, basta we just keep operating and keep gathering intelligence, and that's the key to bringing down the activities of the drug syndicates dito sa Pilipinas.
Babalan nyo, sir, sa mga drug syndicate.
Ano?
Yung babalan nyo po sa mga drug syndicate na hindi tumitigil sa kanilang ano.
Hindi ako bahala kayo sa ginagawa niyo. Basta tuloy-tuloy lang kami. Aabutan din namin kayo. Maliit lang ang Pilipinas.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. President. Sir, what's your will the government po change tactics in this government war on drugs following this incident, and are you alarmed by this biggest drug haul in the country?
No, quite the contrary. Why will we change? Look at the success that we have gained. As I said, not only this 1.8 tons, the many tons that we have already seized. So it's much more than it has been in the past. So it is the most successful approach to the drug war so far. So why will we change it? We won't change it. We'll continue to do what we are doing. Of course, I cannot explain to you the details of what we are doing, but we will continue to do what we are doing. And that's the reason I think that so far we have been able to see such a big amount of generally shabu or methamphetamine. Yeah, so we'll just keep going. We'll just keep doing what we're doing.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. at the inspection of seized illegal drugs at the municipality of Alitagtag in Batangas on April 16, 2024. In other developments, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. graced the 50th anniversary of the Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines, emphasizing the pivotal role of an independent press in upholding accountability and providing accurate information to the public amidst the prevalence of disinformation. He also underscored his commitment to ensuring the safety and welfare of journalists, highlighting the efforts of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security in addressing threats against them. President Marcos also used the occasion to renew his vow to continue defending press freedom and to continue protecting and ensuring the welfare of media practitioners in the Philippines. President Marcos stood firm that his role as a president is to defend press freedom and not lead in destroying it or demeaning its practitioners, as he emphasized that national interest is better served by a press that is critical rather than a press that is cooperative. The chief executive congratulated the FOCAP on its 50th anniversary and commended the association for fostering dialogue and transparency between the government and the media. And this is first time in 9 years that a Philippine president has attended the forum. The father of the current president, which is former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr., started the tradition and was the first Philippine leader to grace it 50 years ago. Here's Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
This luncheon is I would say, fairly profound moment for me on a personal and on an official level. Your first guest to this luncheon was my father 50 years ago. 5 decades later, I stand here and I address you as president to celebrate the golden anniversary and carry on the legacy of this important media tradition. As president, I will seek this forum not only to explain our policies, but to renew my vow to what I deeply believe in, that the President's role is to defend press freedom and not lead in destroying it or demeaning its practitioners. It is my duty for which I ask no special favor, but only fairness, which every citizen, be he the leader of the land or a tiller of the soil, deserves from the Fourth Estate. Unlike many of my predecessors, I do not seek collaboration, for that implies a surrender of your independence. I am of the opinion that national interest is better served by a press that is critical, rather than a press that is cooperative. It must have the untrammeled freedom to do its work, not just to arm the citizenry with the truth, but also to deepen discernment in this age of mass disinformation. In fact, this has been the hallmark of FOCAP's relationship with the presidency and the government for this last half-century. Not compromising your principles has allowed you to live up to the public trust in a manner that is fair but nuanced, balanced but critical. The principal role of the press is not to applaud those who govern, but you hold us accountable without holding back and giving praise to those who deserve it and providing criticism for those who deserve that. Along with the stance is our collective goal of protecting the welfare and lives of journalists. This administration remains committed to bringing justice to the members of the press who were slain in the line of their noble duty. Rest assured that this government, through the Presidential Task Force on Media Security, is always on top of ensuring a safe environment for media practitioners in the country. It is in this spirit that I come here today, to render a candid report and exchange ideas on matters that affect the country. I stated at the start of my administration that we would not yield 1 inch of territory to any foreign power. In recent years, the Philippines has been at the receiving end of illegal, aggressive, and irresponsible actions in the West Philippine Sea. It is crucial that the media, including the members of FOCA, to continue to expose these actions that not only threaten the peace and stability of the region, but also undermine the rules-based order that has underpinned global development and prosperity over the previous century. We must do everything to defend our sovereignty, exercise our sovereign rights and jurisdiction, and uphold our national interests. We also continue to seek and strengthen mutual partnerships with like-minded neighbors, friends, and allies to promote peace and ensure stability in the region. Having said that, the rule of law and global consensus are our greatest tools in securing our maritime territory. So while our nation faces its own trials, we remain deeply concerned about the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and despite the geographical distance, our country is not spared from the impacts and shocks that the conflict provides as we continue to experience food and energy insecurity, along with the challenges in the global supply chain and continuing rising inflation. We continue to hope for a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in the region for the safety and security of affected families, some of whom are Filipino. Allow me also to reiterate that the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction over the Philippines, as we remain to have a working judicial system and law enforcement mechanisms. This administration's concept of the anti-illegal drugs campaign has also been transformed, as we are focusing more on prevention and rehabilitation. Under the banner of Bagong Pilipinas, we are steadfast in adhering to our shared mission of advancing the welfare of Filipinos and nurturing a truly free and safe environment for all journalists. Once again, congratulations, Happy Golden Jubilee FOCA. Thank you very much. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Maraming salamat. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s keynote speech on the Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines' 50th anniversary. And in the same forum, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. answered questions from the media on a variety of issues. One of them is the agreement secretly forged between the Philippines and China during the administration of former President Rodrigo Duterte. In the media interview on that said forum, President Marcos said when the supposed agreement was brought up to him last year, he did not hesitate to rescind the secret agreement. Asked how he intends to hold Duterte accountable for the supposed agreement, President Marcos said that the government needs to find out first what the agreement was about, as he emphasized that he has already talked to some former officials about it. However, he said that he does not see it as a liability against Duterte as of now, because he has yet to see the actual agreement and he would love to see the full document.
We still have to find out what it is all about. We cannot. I've tried to get in touch with former officials of the previous administration who could possibly have been involved in these discussions. And I have to tell you, I haven't gotten a straight answer out of anyone. Now, one party says, one person says, there's no agreement. Another person says, no, there was talk, but it's only status quo. No, there was, and another one will say, there was an agreement. So I'll go back to the three questions that I asked when this subject came up. Number one, the first question I want answered is, was there an agreement in fact? I think by now we can see that in fact there was a secret agreement. And what verifies that, and what I think, for me at least, convinces me that there was in fact a secret agreement, is the insistence of the Chinese government that there was a secret agreement. I do not think the Chinese government, I don't think Beijing will just make up and just out of nowhere say there was a secret agreement when there was no such thing. All right, so I think, to my mind, that is sufficient to me to prove to me that there was such an agreement. The second question I need answered is, what is contained in that secret agreement? What did we agree to? And why did we agree to that? What exactly is it that we compromised? Number two. Number three, and this is a critical question, why did you keep it secret? Why is there not one single document that contains that agreement? Why is there not one shred of evidence that can show that this agreement exists? Why, when the transition period between the previous administration to this administration, did no one mention a secret agreement? Why was it kept secret? These are very simple questions, but I'm finding a great deal of difficulty finding answers for them, because I hear one thing and another thing and another thing and another thing. It's all very maraming palusot. In other words, I don't know how to translate that in English, but maraming palusot. I cannot see how there could possibly be a legal liability. There is no evidence of any agreement.
Okay.
What did we? Is there a document that is signed? I'd love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it does not affect the Philippines, and if there is, I have said that before, when this first came up a few months ago, and it turns out that the Chinese are insisting that there's a secret agreement, and perhaps there is. And I said, I don't know anything about the secret agreement. Should there be such a secret agreement, I am now rescinding it. So I've rescinded it, if indeed it exists. We are so far from getting to the truth, to the nub of the thing. We are so far away from it yet that it's very hard to give a reaction to those questions. Let's get those three questions answered. We've answered the first one. Now, what is contained in that secret agreement, and why was it kept secret? Those are the two questions left. Once we get those three answers, real answers, then we will know what to do.
Meanwhile, on the country's defense agreements with the United States, President Marcos Jr. said that those agreements are beyond politics. The chief executive made the remark when asked if he is concerned that a Donald Trump administration would affect the ironclad commitment to the Philippines made by the Biden administration. In November this year, the United States will hold its presidential election as current President Joe Biden, which represents the Democratic Party, seeks re-election, while the former President Donald Trump is the front-runner nominee of the Republican Party. Marcos said if President Joe Biden is re-elected, then the Philippines have a fairly solid ground to base its position. Marcos said that in case former President Trump is re-elected, it is hard to determine the changes, and they are all speculations for now.
Well, I think it would be artful to say that we do not watch closely the political cycle that is ongoing in the United States. Because inevitably, if there is a change in government, if President Biden is re-elected, then we have a fairly solid ground to base all our our positions on because we have already spoken with him. But inevitably, if there is a change in government, then there will be changes in policy. We do not know what those are. But I believe that what we have agreed with the United States are beyond politics, and I think that since they almost rise to treaty agreements. Those treaty agreements must be honored, and that I think puts us on good ground. But I will not deny that we look. Certainly, we examine who's going to be in charge. Who's going in case the former President Trump is reelected. What will be the changes that will affect us? It's hard to say. It's all speculation for now.
Front and Center will return after Pinoy Kultura.
Time to celebrate kulturang Pinoy. Tradisyon, musika, sining, literatura at iba pa. Anything and everything fun and Filipino. Ito ang Pinoy Kultura.
Experts say this, journalists write it, and we promote it. Sadyang malikhay ng Pinoy, yes? You hear that all the time. We merge dishes like sinigang na corned beef. We mash up songs for a laugh like Señorita by Shawn Mendes.
I love it when you call me Señorita. Pintig ng puso ko'y para sa'yo.
And Lumayo Ka Man Sa Akin by Rodel Naval. And there's the timeless practice of Pinoy parents naming their kids after their meshed names, like Jovelyn or Benjamin. Pero ang isa pang mahilig ko tingtingin ng Pinoy ay language. Mga salitang Tagalog na minerge or completely inimbento, pauso. Street words or slang, made-up words or familiar words with made-up meanings only a Filipino would know. Like praning, anyari, and some that have even made it to the Oxford English Dictionary. Like bongga, defined as flamboyant or excellent. Bahala na, balikbayan, high blood. Yup, they're in the Oxford English Dictionary. Look under Philippine English along with other Filipino coined words. The OED has an entire Philippine English piece on it. The first editions were plant or animal names like abaca and tamarao. Recent editions include kilig, pandesal, and traffic as an adjective, defined as marked by slow movement of vehicles or congested. Filipino lexicographer Danica Salazar says the Philippine-sourced editions legitimize Philippine English as a variety in its own right. The words that got in did so from observed use online in publications and through linguistic studies. It'll be interesting to see what other Filipinized words make it next. What about keri o marites?
Yan ang Pinoy Kultura because our culture is cool.
Serving the Republic of the Philippines for more than 75 years. Ito po ang Presidential Broadcast Service.
Welcome back to Front and Center. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and Prime Minister of New Zealand Christopher Luxon delivered their respective statement in a joint press conference at the President's Hall in Malacanang Palace on April 18, 2024. The event follows the two leaders' bilateral meeting with their respective delegation, wherein President Marcos Jr. and Prime Minister Luxon discussed ways to further strengthen ties between the Philippines and New Zealand, which have thrived for more than 50 years. The New Zealand Prime Minister was in the country for a 3-day official visit. Prior to the Philippines, Prime Minister Luxon visited Singapore and Thailand as part of his working visit to Southeast Asia.
We mark today an important milestone in the friendship between Philippines and New Zealand as we welcome Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and the New Zealand delegation to the Philippines. Our interaction and engagement with New Zealand is guided by our shared Pacific heritage, our common experiences as maritime nations, and by our collective desire for peace, stability, and prosperity. It is indeed a natural course for us to work towards enhancing our relations that will see the Philippines and New Zealand grow closer and cooperate more extensively on various areas, including trade, investment, defense, environment, climate change, maritime security, people-to-people linkages, and in multilateral endeavors, a very full list. On the economic front, the Philippines will continue to partner with New Zealand in maximizing the benefits of the rules-based trading system as strengthened by international arrangements such as the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, and the ASEAN, Australia, and New Zealand Free Trade Area. We will remain committed as fair and active stakeholders in this globalized and highly connected economic system, with the end goal of further realizing inclusive and sustainable development for our peoples. The Philippines welcomes a mechanism that will shepherd our joint efforts on economic relations. Our two governments will explore avenues to realize this important step in achieving a healthy, balanced, significant, and sustainable bilateral investment and trade. My team will always be ready to work with their New Zealand counterparts so we can maximize the potentials, raise our economic relations to much higher levels. This system and the unprecedented growth that the region has been experiencing for many decades now are anchored on the stability enabled by the rules-based order and shored up by international law. The Philippines welcomes New Zealand's continued commitment to advocate for the peaceful resolution of disputes in accordance with international law, including through the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Your support, Mr. Prime Minister, and that of the New Zealand government strengthens the overarching principles on which our continued march to prosperity and regional security are anchored. We are delighted to acknowledge the intent of our friends in New Zealand to join our efforts towards a comprehensive maritime security for our region. Accordingly, we look forward to the institutionalization of our bilateral endeavors in maritime security that will have our respective law enforcement and civilian agencies working together to address common threats at sea. Our comprehensive maritime cooperation is envisioned to deal with a wide range of issues, from piracy to illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, terrorism in the maritime domain, contraband smuggling, wildlife trafficking, amongst others. The next few years will likewise witness our two countries jointly contribute in the global effort to realize the noble goals of the Paris Agreement and minimize the effects of climate change on our peoples and the region. This commitment also extends to our focused collaboration on humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. The camaraderie and friendly relations between Filipinos and Kiwis will remain as the strongest and most enduring connection that propels our common aspirations. We appreciate New Zealand for ensuring the welfare of almost 100,000 Filipinos who are pursuing academic courses, earning a living for their families, and achieving their dreams while positively contributing to the economies and societies of both our two countries. As Prime Minister Locsin himself has been able to personally see and admire the beauty and wonders of our country many times over, we wish that the next few years will see us welcoming a greater number of New Zealand nationals as well to visit, to explore, and to learn to love the Philippines. As we set our sights on the celebration of the 60th anniversary of bilateral relations in 2026, Prime Minister Locsin and I have agreed to continue working together in a steadfast manner and united in the vision of an elevated and more meaningful relationship between our two nations. Our strong commitments are identified clearly in the joint statement to be released after this press conference. Thank you very much, and good evening to you all.
Thank you very much. Well, President Marcos, can I say again, thank you very much for the very warm welcome that you've extended to myself, but also to our whole team. You are an exceptional host, and I have to say it is a tremendous privilege to be able to stay at your mansion as your guest this evening, and thank you very much for arranging that for us. I've had many visits to the Philippines, and it's a country that you know that I have come to know and love for its vibrancy, for its energy, and for your amazing hospitality. Yours is also the fastest growing economy in Southeast Asia, a young country that is assuming an ever larger role as a leader in our region and a place driving prosperity. And while the Philippines and New Zealand share a warm and enduring relationship, President Marcos and I are determined to elevate it to a new level, determined to bring a new energy and new vibrancy to the work that we do together. And that's why we have agreed that the Philippines-New Zealand relationship will become a comprehensive partnership which we will sign by the time of our 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations in 2026. We will cement a roadmap that strengthens our trade, security, and people-to-people links, as well as finding ways to work together to address global challenges like climate change and regional issues like maritime security. I'm very pleased to say I'm here today with Paulo Garcia. He is our first Philippines-born Member of Parliament, and he is a man who represents the very best of your country, Mr. President, and also of mine. New Zealand is privileged to be home to over 100,000 Filipinos, all of whom are great ambassadors for your country, and all of whom make economic, social, and cultural life much richer and more vibrant in New Zealand. Together, we are committed to stepping up our defence relationship with President Marcos and I, directing our officials to get the underpinnings in place for our militaries to be able to work alongside one another in a more frictionless manner. In our meeting today, we also discussed the huge economic potential in our relationship, and we are both determined to grow two-way trade by at least 50% in the next few years. And it's great to see bilateral trade between New Zealand and the Philippines not only recover to pre-pandemic levels, but continue to increase. And while dairy remains New Zealand's biggest export commodity to the Philippines, there is an increasing interest from New Zealand companies in the information and technology sectors, manufacturing, renewable energy, and food and beverage sectors looking up to set up new offices in the Philippines. Travel has, of course, been a major driver for our trade growth, and we have more people moving back and forth between our two countries to visit family and friends, to take up work and study opportunities, and to holiday in our beautiful countries. We want to do more to grow both of our countries' tourism industries. And as I said earlier, our strong and growing people-to-people connections are really what is at the heart of our relationship. The Philippines and New Zealand have been working closely to improve understanding of each other's qualification systems, to deepen the understanding of our respective education systems and better support labour mobility. During our meeting, I reiterated New Zealand's commitment to supporting the development of the Philippines through our International Development Cooperation Programme. Over the last 3 years, New Zealand has provided over $31 million in funding. Amongst other things, this support has delivered climate resilience projects, tertiary scholarships, and support for the Mindanao peace process. President Marcos and I have reflected on the challenges faced by our region and the international environment. And as two Indo-Pacific democracies, we share values and a common outlook on the world, of here in the Philippines in the immediate region, whether it's also on Ukraine or in the Middle East or here within our region in the Indo-Pacific. And I just want to acknowledge President Marcos's leadership on the international stage, with both of us focused on building Indo-Pacific partnerships. Once again, I'm absolutely delighted to be concluding my first official visit to Southeast Asia here in Manila. And I want to personally thank you again, President Marcos, for the warmth and for the hospitality that you have afforded to me and also to our whole team. Thank you very much.
That was the joint press statement of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon. That wraps up another edition of Front and Center. I hope you enjoyed today's edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You can watch this program again over Radyo Pilipinas World Service via Facebook page, Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You can also watch previous Front and Center programs on our YouTube channel, Radyo Pilipinas World Service. And the program Front and Center and the programs of Radyo Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.010 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. Together with our producer Erwin Peñano and technical personnel Milo Janela, this is your host Jerome Toledo. Join us again in another episode of Front and Center. Mabuhay and love the Philippines.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.